Rosie and I'm the artist behind Edie Rose Ashley, and this is my Blossom Studies collection. I wanted to take you through the journey that I've been on to create this collection, so the inspiration behind all of my pieces, how each piece is developed. I also want to take you through some of my painting processes, how my work develops as a collection in terms of from concept to finished piece, and I wanted to just generally show you some behind the scenes that you don't tend to see. So bits of me in the studio painting and creating these pieces, putting them together, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy it and let's get started. This collection came about initially because of my love of cherry blossoms. I just admire their delicate beauty so much. It's incredible and it really is a sign of spring. I mean, it's something that cherry blossoms are a flower that I've always loved. This cherry blossom tree I've had with me from the first year in business, so it's always been a source of inspiration in my studio, but I wanted to pick a flower for this collection that really represented the season, and that's where the initial idea and concept came from. I started going out and collecting research, seeing blossoms in local parks, in gardens, around my local village. I'd take walks. I photographed them, I videoed them, I sat with them, watched how they moved, watched how the petals fell, looked at them from different angles, so walked under them and looked at the different shapes of the branches and how the petals grew in terms of different types of blossoms. Some of them grow in kind of like a pom-pom shape, whereas others are more kind of linear, and it was really interesting to see the plant from that, see the tree from that perspective. I decided to start working in a sketchbook again. That's not something I've done as an artist since university, and I really loved going back, kind of having a play around with each of the pages, knowing I didn't have to be kind of too structured or have to kind of achieve a certain design or element or look. It gave me the opportunity as an artist to just play, and that was amazing, and it's definitely been the turning point. Like, this collection wouldn't be where it is today without working in a sketchbook, so I really benefited from that. In terms of the actual sketchbook process, I started off by doing some drawings and really working quite roughly, just looking at the images that I'd taken, going out into local parks and to local gardens and seeing the shapes of the flower. And cherry blossom is not something I've particularly painted a lot before, so I wanted to look at the flower and see it from different aspects. I wanted to see it from underneath, face on, from the side, and just had a play around really with the composition and just trying to see what I could capture and how I could capture the shapes. We've done experiments before. I remember at school where we had to draw a still life piece and we couldn't take our pen off the page, for example, and it just frees you up. So I was doing some of those artistic exercises. And the exercise that really brought this collection to life, or the beginning kind of got the momentum going for this collection, was I did an exercise where I held a pencil from the top and started to really roughly, kind of really loosened up my hand to draw the individual flowers, and it gave them a real fluffy look, which when I looked back at the other sketches, they were actually quite stiff. So I really loved how fluffy and loose and how much texture it added to these drawings. So I decided to go from there and get my paints out and wanted to capture that kind of life force from those drawings that I did. So that's where the sketchbook work started. Following on from the drawings, I wanted, like I said earlier, to be able to capture these flowers from different perspectives, with the idea of putting them eventually onto a branch and painting them as they are in nature. But in my sketchbook, when I started to paint them and see them placed like they are here, the flowers face on, almost looking like pressed flowers, seeing those pages in my sketchbook, it really started to remind me of entomology. So where the study of insects are and how insects are kept in these glass boxes and they're displayed in order to be viewed and researched and studied. And collections are built up of these entomology boxes of different types of insects and beetles and butterflies, and it really reminded me, the flowers being viewed in this way, of entomology. So I was kind of looking in my sketchbook and thinking, I need to start looking at the flowers in different ways and seeing them from different perspectives in order to create that look I had in my head of them being on a branch. But I was having a conversation with my auntie and my mum, and I was saying, I really love how they look in the sketchbook and how they remind me of entomology, and how it's something that's encased. So one of the things that I love about the cherry blossoms is that they are only around for a couple of weeks of the year, and they are so delicate, and a gust of wind and they're gone. Part of the reason why they're loved so much is because they're not here for a long time. And I know for me personally, when I see them, it forces me to be in the moment and to be present and to just sit and do nothing else, but to just sit and really appreciate the beauty, to know that, the next day you go, they could all be gone, they could be a strong wind and that's it until next year. So I think that concept, kind of juxtaposing the idea of them being in these glass cages, like these insects are preserved, taking something that's normally so fleeting, putting it in a glass box. So I kind of wanted to have these blossoms. Originally, the concept was to have these blossoms to have in your home, to look at, to, as a viewer, to see them and to think that presence and that gratitude and that admiration that you feel when you see these blossoms in nature. I wanted you as a viewer to have that all year round and to be in that moment. But I think it is so ironic how, as people, as humans, how much we've wanted to control nature and how detrimental it's been to it. How the state that we're in the world in terms of climate change and the near extinction of so many different animals and insects and bees, and in particular insects. I wanted this to be, blossom is so important for the bees. They absolutely love it. When I was filming the flowers in nature and the trees in nature, they were full of bees and it was amazing. And seeing, having that concept of controlling something, that part of the beauty of cherry blossoms, why we love them so much, is because they're not here for very long. So I also wanted to bring that to the attention, that actually by me preserving them, by you having these displayed in this way, it's like, I wanted you to see how much we try and control nature when we really should let it just be. I also wanted the blossoms to be kind of an example of what we can do for nature, so how we can make a change. Like, I didn't want it to be to sound like all doom and gloom in terms of how much we want to control things as humans, and I wanted them to be something to promote well-being and to promote kind of positive mental health and gratitude and these daily practices and feelings and emotions that you get when you see these trees. I wanted to use these blossoms to make us see how delicate and beautiful nature is, and I'm hoping it will encourage you to plant more flowers in your garden, or if you have local communities, and to support charities that help the bees, and positive actions that we can take for pollinators and the insects and everything that this kind of collection shows. I really hope you enjoyed seeing this collection, and to get a bit more of an insight into where I get my ideas from, how I develop my collections from concept to finished pieces, and I just hope, my hope with this collection is that whether you have a piece in your home to see, or whether you're seeing it online here or on social media, I wanted to get people to ask themselves questions. So I wanted you to think about, okay, what do I do that either positively or negatively impacts the world, and how can I help support the bees more? And that doesn't always have to be a monetary thing. Like, we don't have to, yes, money helps to give to charities, and it also helps to, you know, treat our environment better, whether that's the food you eat, whether you're, you know, whether you do eat vegan meals a few times a week, or if you are fully vegan like me, or if you choose to buy more sustainably or from brands that you know have sustainable or recyclable or biodegradable packaging, and making these conscious decisions and conscious changes. They are all amazing to do, and I do really encourage you to think and to look at that. But also, it has to start with the mindset. Like, we can't make these changes unless we learn more about these things and change the way we view the world and the way we view how important our choices and decisions are. And that's where I wanted to start. I wanted to just get you to ask the questions, to have these conversations, to think about, you know, what do the blossoms make you feel when you see them? What positive changes can you think to make? How do you feel that you impact the world and the environment? What changes can you make, or what changes have you already made that you can celebrate? I think that's really important. I think for so long now we've been stuck inside, we haven't been able to go out and explore, and the world's been the world has been turned upside down. And what I also want is for you to go out in nature and explore it, and, you know, sit in your garden, or, you know, put your head outside your window if you don't have a garden, for example, and see what animals, you know, what birds can you hear, what insects can you see, what plants and flowers and everything. Like, try to incorporate nature more into your life, because that, from a positive mental health perspective, it's so nourishing for you, for your soul and your mind and everything. So I really, really hope that you enjoyed listening, and I really hope that this collection has made you feel differently, and I really hope that you're well, and that this can benefit you in some kind of way. I would absolutely love it, you know, just by having these conversations. If you have something that you feel like is really interesting, that you want to add to the conversation, like, I want this to be the start of an open dialogue, if that makes sense. I want these paintings to spark conversation.